Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Anthony C. Ferrante, director of Sharknado.
Hi, this is the voice of Battlebots, Mark Biro.
This is Seth Shostak, senior astronomer at the SETI Institute.
Hello, my name is Matt Simon. I am a science writer at Wired Magazine and author of the new book, The Wasp That Brainwashed the Caterpillar.
This is Frank Joseph. I'm the author of an essay in the latest book, Lost Secrets of the Gods.
Hi, this is Linda Godfrey, author of American Monsters.
Hello, my name is Robert Salas. I'm the author of Unidentified, the UFO Phenomenon.
Hi, this is Nick Redfern, the author of Close Encounters of the Fatal Kind.
Hi, my name is Bob Luca.
And my name is Betty Andreasen Luca.
Hi, this is Jesse Prupas, the producer of JFK, The Smoking Gun.
Hello, this is Marty Langford. I'm the director of Doomed, the untold story of Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four.
Hi, this is Kevin Randall, author of Alien Mysteries, Conspiracies, and Cover-Up.
Hi, this is Tracy Roberts, founder of Positively Autistic.
I'm Jeremiah Bomex, the producer of The Reel of Horror.
Hi, my name is Bill Hall, author of The World's Most Haunted House.
Hi, this is Micah Hanks, and I'm the author of the book The Ghost Rockets.
And you're listening to Emi on the Graveyard Shift Talk Show, blogtalkradio.com.
Strap on your seatbelt. Get ready to kneel, true believers, because here's your host, Emi.
Welcome to the Graveyard Shift, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest talk show that ever has been, is, or ever will be. My name is Emi, and you are my guests today. Well, there's other guests too, but we'll get to them in a second. Tonight is going to be a very special night. Because as you well know, tonight is going to be the night where I interview the one, the only, Trey Roski, CEO of the unbelievably popular show, Battlebots. And, you know, I have a feeling we're going to have a little cameo by somebody who I think many of you know him. And, but, you know, before I bring Trey out here, I feel like I have to do something special. I mean, This is a BattleBots show. You can't have a BattleBots show without announcing the people that are going to be, talking or going at each other or whatever. So, first I've got Trey here. But Trey, before you and I go at it, I'm gonna have the one and only Mr. Mark Beto. Well, that's how we say it in Spanish. He's going to announce. So, Mark, I will say no more. Take it away, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, something wicked this way comes. He's coming for you and yours. He's 3 times the trouble. He's Trey Roski.
Wow.
Holy cow. That was
I haven't
awesome.
heard that voice in a long time.
Right?
How you
right?
doing, Trey?
That's awesome. How are you, Mark? Surprised.
I'm doing real good. Real well, thank you.
Fantastic.
I bet. Oh, my God. That was awesome. That was fantastic. Oh, there's fans all over.
Well, that's what they pay me for.
Well, yeah. Well, good. I hope you like Cuban food because that's how I can pay you.
That's great. Right up my alley.
There you go. Oh, I know it is. So, as everybody well knows, and by the way, thank you so much for doing that, Mark. We appreciate it. I hope you can stick around because I might have some questions for you. Yeah, you stick around, okay? We're going to have some questions for you, too. Yeah. So, Trey, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. So now back up a little bit. So Mark is in your family. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
Mark yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to disown me.
They tried to disown you. Yeah.
Hey,
yes.
No, that was only a rumor, except when they confirmed it to be true.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Well,
yeah, Mark is awesome.
Mark was the host that put us on the map and kind of made the staple of the show the way it is today. So it's amazing to hear from you.
Believe me, Trey, in the many years that I did that, you guys put yourself on the map because I'm telling you now, I've done a lot of things and continue to do a lot of things, but it was never close to the kind of thrill and excitement that BattleBots provides. And people learn that, and that's why they're addicted.
I remember a great story you told me once when we were together. I think it was probably the third season or something, and you had mentioned you were coming through the airport, and you had been announcing, of course, for boxing matches for umpteen million years or whatever it was, and you were walking through the airport, and some kids came up to you and said, "You're the BattleBots announcer," and you smiled. I remember you telling me how happy you were to be recognized for that, and I thought that was such an awesome story. And
well, it's all true, and the beautiful thing about it is that when those, it wasn't just kids, it was a group of adults as well with their children, and they were telling the children to leave me alone because they thought they were bothering me, and I told them, no, that's fine. I am who they say I am, and they cracked up. They couldn't believe it. It was a great story and a true one, and one that I often repeat.
That's awesome. That is so fantastic. And, and on that note, it shows right then and there how long this thing has been around. I don't know if a lot of people realize, especially some of the fans that may or may not be aware of how long this show's been going on. I mean, Trey, you and Greg, you guys started this thing way back in the 90s, right in the cusp of 99, 2000. And, you really put robot fighting on the map. I mean, that's no, there's just no quips about that. And watching BattleBots now, from its, I don't know if you want to call humble origins, because, when we're talking fighting robots, there's nothing humble about fighting robots. But there's so much care taken to the technicalities, the details, the schematics for each bot. I mean, it's almost like, and I know, Mark, you actually mentioned this to me a few times, but it's almost like they're treated like professional boxers. Because there's like the added atmosphere of kind of like a metallic, high-stakes poker robot wrestling death match. And I think bringing somebody like Mark into it, and Farouk too, that has that announcing background, especially Mark that has the boxing ring announcing background, I think really added to the seriousness. So, Trey, what I wanted to know is, when you and Greg created BattleBots, did you have any idea that it would get to the point it was today?
I think we were very hopeful. I was probably, thinking it had more than it was back then than maybe I thought it might have today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, when we actually left Comedy Central, I was thinking, oh, no problem. We'll be back on the air in no time. And, went back out and started knocking on those doors again and, had a real tough time actually fighting our way back into the television world. And it was an eye-opening experience. It wasn't as easy as I thought it was. It seemed easier the first time. So,
sure. I can appreciate that. And, it's funny you say how it started out in something like Comedy Central, and now you're at Discovery Channel with shows like, our mutual friend Brad Coleman with Expedition Unknown that has its own, history. And now that you guys are, I want to be careful when I say this because I don't want anyone to think that I don't think it's taken seriously. But, when you're on something like Comedy Central where, okay, you're on shows along with shows like The Daily Show and, South Park, and now you're with Discovery Channel where there's like historical stuff going on. There's real, and I think that really shows how people say, hey, this is something that's real. This is something visceral, really like real knuckle busting. And it's really, it's turned into something very, very big, something up there with wrestling, with boxing and, but what sets it apart from all of those things is that it's truly a marriage of physics, kinetic energy, and raw visceral mechanical motion. Now, Trey, can you talk to us a little bit about how does the science and math and the physics, how does that add to the entertainment factor of the show?
Well, I mean, other than the fact that that's what it is, I'm not sure, that the majority of the public that watch it actually see that, and realize that.
Sure, sure.
The show doesn't dive into that enough as much as it should. There's just not enough airtime to actually dive into that, and it draws a different audience for that kind of behind, the scenes or whatever you want to call it, showing the actual math behind the physics and the physics behind the robots. It's been a very difficult thing to find the right balance in the show, in trying to make a good, entertaining television-worthy show. And so, that's why we've kind of stayed away from the build side of it or the engineering side. However, this season we're doing 50 hours.
I was just going to ask you that.
Pretty crazy. Our last season we did 32 hours, and I thought that was just crazy. How do we do 30? How do we entertain our public for 32 hours? And this year we're doing 50 hours.
Oof.
And we got some surprises for you. So I'm not going to. And some of it is experimental. We're trying to focus and figure out what works and what might not work and show you some stuff. But there's definitely going to be some things that we try that I think people will absolutely adore and love, and some things we try that few people will look at and go wonder what they're thinking.
Right? Yeah, definitely.
Good TV too.
I mean, especially when you have bots like, Mammoth and Duck and, my gosh, and Captain, oh my gosh, they're going to kill me now. What's the one with the Captain America? Yes, Captain Shredderator. I had an S in there. Guys, don't get mad at me. I had the S. But we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But actually, getting back to the bots, I'm curious about this now. Each season, what the fans are noticing is that it brings more lethal, bigger, sometimes smaller, but mostly bigger, even more creative bots. Now, can you, but I don't know if many understand the real personal investment, not just financial, but emotional, physical, in some cases spiritual. Amazingly enough, that kind of blew me away when I saw that. Can you give us an idea of some of the personal investment that some of these bot builders bring into each of their creations?
Well, I mean, every one of these builders has their own idea of what would work. And every engineer has their own idea of how to make something do something. If you want to build a boat, every engineer is going to build it differently. There's a little bit of a different twist in every engineer. Some of them will look back to what works. Some of them will look back to the way past and see what works and try to build it up or change it enough to make it do whatever it needs to do better. Whether it goes faster or floats higher up, or if it was a boat or something like that. The robots, the way I look at them, and I see these contestants, it really is an art piece too. It's the art of their brain. It's showing off their art. Some of them come with, I just want to win, and this is what won last year, and I'm going to try to copy that. And I'm going to try to make it better. I'm going to try to, improve upon that idea. Some of them come with something totally different. And every year we see something that we haven't seen before. Mammoth, as you mentioned, was a great example of that. When we looked at Mammoth, I think a lot of people walked in there and looked at it and said, didn't quite get it until they saw it actually
It
perform.
was amazing. It really, I was blown away by Mammoth. I really was. I didn't think it would last as long as it did. It really, yeah. And that's true. And, that kind of brings us to the question of the bracket system that you guys developed, which actually has taken an evolution of its own. So I'm curious, and I'm sure many fans are curious too. How do you guys decide, aside from the obvious, size and everything, but how do you guys decide which bot belongs in each bracket or each group each year? So, can you, I know that's probably going to, that might take a long time to answer, but maybe you can give us a rough idea.
So that's kind of a proprietary secret.
Really?
And,
Mark,
so we
I think
have
we're going to have to go to California, buddy. We're going to have to tie him up or something.
Tie a couple of us up. Putting, how we put the robots together and who they compete against up until the finals is kind of a unique secret. And we've been working forwards and backwards and sideways, and we've had past contestants and friends and mathematicians help us, and figure out what, is there an algorithm that could be used to, put these robots together in the best format? And we've looked at that, and there's a possibility, that someday we might be able to create that. So far, we haven't. We still try to, we've got a delicate balance here again, another delicate balance. It's, we're trying to make good television. We're trying to, make fights that people want to see. We're trying to, these robots got to go against each other. Most robots will go, 5 fights in a tournament or more. And, that's a lot of fights. That's a lot of fiction. And so we're trying to, make sure that people have a chance sometimes. Sometimes, some people are there to entertain. I don't know if you remember the way old days with Spiny Norman would show up he had an RC car. We had the 4 weight classes and he had nails sticking out and he'd just drive this RC car around. He wasn't coming to win the event. He was coming just to be a part of it and entertain. And, most of our contestants, if not all of them, today are coming to, entertain, but they're also coming to win. They're also coming to put a show on. They realize the value of the fight. And they realize the value of the TV show and how important it is to make great TV. And these contestants really pull out all the stops. The old days, there were people that would tap out or quit or, back off or, not, take things to the T. Where these days, pretty much everybody realizes it's about the fight and they put it all in there. And they really perform well. And it's really amazing what these contestants have done and how amazing they've been. And it's really, and I say this over and over to all of them and everybody, it's, this is a show for the contestants, by the contestants. And, And that's what BattleBots is about, and that's what makes it different than any other show out there, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think you said it just right there. I mean, I think just seeing that it started the way it did, and we had so many bots that were just, come on, they were there just to play, which is fine. That's great that they came. But then now it's gotten to the point where, I mean, bots have sponsors just like boxers, and they have people that invest real money in these things. I mean, and I'm not talking $5, $10, guys. I'm talking a lot of money. And, when you have something like that, it becomes a whole different animal, mechanically speaking. Speaking of mechanical animals, can we talk about Duck for a second? Because I know there's I had a lot of questions about this thing. Now, oh my gosh, what is up with this thing? Like, I saw the fight, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't want to push you too hard, and I know I can't ask you, what do you think? But why is it so controversial with Duck and with this fight, especially the one he had with Gigabyte and Bombshell and Lucky and all that? I mean, it just got – I know there's always going to be controversial decisions. I realize that. But it's apparently with this one was like over the – like, wow. So is there anything you could talk about with that particular bot?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, we have judges, and when it goes to the judges – it's up to their interpolation. And these are the best judges we've ever had. We used to always say, okay, we need one old contestant or one judge that, knows everything about BattleBots, and then the other two didn't matter. That was our thinking in the old days. Today, we've changed. We've gone to, no, all the judges need to be BattleBots contestants, past contestants.
Yeah,
and
I
the reason for that
yeah.
is because we're getting the best decisions. And I'm on the stage. I have the best, view of anybody. I'm standing right there during every single fight. And, truthfully, there's probably been 2 fights in the entire life of, this era of BattleBots that I've seen that I question the judges, the way they went. That fight was a very difficult fight. That fight was a very difficult fight to judge. Hal Rucker is probably one of the best engineers out there. This guy is, he's amazing. His stuff is perfect. He comes and he's just, he's really dialed in his robots. Everything is so well thought out, so well engineered, so well built. And it's just, and to a certain extent, they're relatively simple, which is, not simple to make, of course, but the overall engineering of them is very simple. Duck, to be frank, we had a really hard time letting it in the beginning. It is a bit of a wedge. We don't like wedges. We don't like robots, that just have a limited thing. It does have a lifting device. Duck, I'm not sure about this, but, a few of the lifters that came last season could not lift their own weight. They couldn't lift the 250 pounds, and so there's a new rule this year, and that's the evolution of BattleBots too. So lifters now have to be able to lift 250 pounds or whatever their weight is and their opponent's weight. And the rules are ever changing to do 2 things. We want to make a good show, a safe show, and a fun show, and it's about the engineering, and it's not just about a wedge. And there was not Duck here, but there was one of the other robots. I won't go into names, but you can probably guess.
Right? Yeah, that's why I laughed. I know which one you're talking about.
Couldn't lift, anything, and it's like, okay, so you're really a wedge. You just pretended, that you could lift something, and we're not about wedges. And this also this year we've redone our floor. We now have a very, very solid floor. So the floor you saw last year and all the seasons in past was the floor that Mark Bureau stood on way back in '99.
Are you serious? It's still the same one?
It was still the same. It was basically really thin metal. I mean, when we built the very first BattleBox, the robots weren't very tough, and we had 4 different weight classes. And the thinking at that point was For example, the spike rail. The spike rail was made out of very thin steel, had spikes on it. It went up, I think it was 6 inches at the time. It was a U-channel steel, and it was actually made out of very thin steel because we wanted the robots to hit it and bend it. The walls themselves behind the spike rail were perfectly capable of stopping all the robots and the shrapnel that would come to them. But the spike rail was actually made to make the robots look tougher back then. And we didn't need, and it would bend and the robots would hit it and it looked like, oh, okay, because the robots weren't really that strong. Now the robots are super strong and, they are, obviously the spike rail's been replaced quite a few years ago, but the floor, we've never really replaced. We would just hammer it out and we'd Bondo some of the holes. Yeah, I even bought stock in Bondo there for a while because, it was.
I was going to say, did you buy stock in it?
In the battle, that's Bondo strong stuff, man. You gotta know. So,
listen, I'm in theater. I know what Bondo is. I know what that is. Trust me here.
And actually,
wow.
It's funny because when we wanted to get rid of the wedges, I came up with this whack-a-mole idea. Well, Pete and I did. Pete's the old man of the box. And we said, okay, how can we make some spikes? And we made some spikes, and then they didn't work. And then we made, but these little, lumps that come up in the floor. And the idea was to slow down the wedges. Actually, the last 2 years, we really haven't even been able to use them because the floor was so up and down and tweaked, and it kind of did that for us.
Right.
So it solved the problem. The wedges didn't work as well, and all that kind of stuff because the floor was, pretty wobbly. If that's the right word.
I do have one slight suggestion for you guys. I don't know. I'm sure it's too late to add any new little traps, but this one will not take any cosmetic addition at all. Have you ever thought of doing just a second or 2 seconds of pitch blackness just for the robots? Right? Because think about it, then they can't see, and it's like, what the hell's going on? And it's like it adds an element of holy crap to the fight. First of all, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm sure a lot of bot builders are hating me right now, but whatever.
It would be hard to show that on television,
Oh well, I'm a theater guy, so to me, pitch black is that's where the crew comes in. But yeah, there you have it. That probably would be hard to show on TV.
We could just tell people they're fighting in pitch black right now, and just leave the screen black. How's that? No.
Oh no, there you go. That's an idea right there. I'm sure Discovery will love that. Yeah. About a second, that kind of just my ADD is on alert now. That kind of brings me back to the old days of Andy Kaufman when he did the Howdy Doody special and they had the vertical and horizontal hold. Remember that? That was oh gosh. So back to BattleBots. That's amazing. And speaking of another bot, Bite Force is like unstoppable. I mean, is there any bot that, in your opinion, again, I know I'm really digging here, but maybe you don't have to give names because I know that would indicate bias, but in your mind, is there any bot out there that you can think of that exists that has even a chance to dethrone Bite Force? I mean, it's unbelievably...
There's a few bots that have beat Bite Force. If I'm not mistaken, Chomp beat Bite Force. If I'm not mistaken, I know Witch Doctor beat Bite Force in the Amazon party we did last year for Jeff Bezos. That Twitch thing.
Oh, no, I didn't see that one. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, that was pretty spectacular. That was some of the best fights we've ever had. It was pretty phenomenal.
It's funny you mentioned Witch Doctor because I was going to say Witch Doctor is probably one of the bots that I would say, has a chance. And I mean, look, I think Mammoth, I saw that trailer of Mammoth coming back. Sounds like they've made some serious adjustments to it. And I don't know. Let's see what happens this time around, You never know what's going to happen.
When you're the champ, everybody's gunning for you. And everybody's coming up with an idea to beat you because they feel that if they're ever going to be the champ, they got to come up with a way and an idea to beat you.
Right.
So it's hard for me to believe that Bite Force is going to win this year. I might be just putting that in his head if he's listening. I think he's going down this year. Speaking of Chomp, who who I think
Did you
beat
hear
him,
that?
if I'm not mistaken. Chomp. So let me tell you about this year's walkers, our walking weight class. If I can jump ahead, I don't know.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
If you know about this yet, but I'll tell you
this does not sound familiar to me. Please continue.
I'll tell you the dream first, and then I'll tell you where we're at. So, the dream has always been to get to a walking weight class for BattleBots. And,
like
the dream
Gundams?
of the... What's that?
You mean like the Gundams or the Transformers were actually walking around and fighting like
Well,
that?
So that's a bit of the problem. And one of the, that's what people see Transformers. We actually dealt with a television lady way back when, no names again, who thought that the Transformer robot was real, and who thought that the real steel robots were real. And this is somebody in television, and we're trying to explain to them that these are not real robots, and that, as much as we argued, and the public thinks that the RoboCop robot, the, other robots, Transformer robots, that these robots are real. And it's very, very difficult to make a walking robot, walking in any way, whether it's two legs, 3 legs, 6 legs, 10 legs, 1 leg. It is very, very difficult.
Well, yeah, look at the one that we keep seeing updates about. I forget the name of the company, but the one that, oh my goodness, that they just tried how to open a door. I mean, that's like an extreme example, but look at how long it took them to just teach it how to walk upright for just a little while.
Boston Dynamics is that robot
Boston
company.
Thank you.
And those were mainly made by a gentleman named Scott LaValle, who built Do-All and Do-Little for BattleBots. I spent my childhood in his garage with his mom and dad, who, his dad was an amazing engineer, and, he basically taught his son, and him and his son kind of taught me a lot of my robot building and everything else. But Scott, just jumping on that note for a second, maybe I'm got to be careful here, but in March, Scott's going to be releasing his new baby that he has spent a lot of money on and Scott it is a 2-legged walking robot. I've seen every walking robot in the world, and this one is the most amazing, maybe the most expensive, but it is the most unbelievable walking robot in the history of walking robots. It will blow you away. And he'll be telling the world about that shortly, and I'll let him take it from there.
I can't wait to hear about that. I cannot wait to hear about it. So that's amazing. So that means that you guys are hoping to get into that direction, where it's not just these robots that are running around on wheels.
So the idea here is to get to 2-legged walking robots someday. That is the most difficult thing to do.
Wow.
So to do that, we've kind of developed, or are developing still, like I mentioned, the rule change of you have to lift your own weight with the lifter. It's an ever-evolving process. The idea here is to have 3 different robot categories for walkers. One is the general competition robot walking category. And basically, you enter the general competition. It has to be a real walker, and that is not necessarily defined in stone. We'll know it when we see it as we define it at this point. But we don't allow shuffle bots or things that are, not real walkers. And that enters the regular competition. They have a weight advantage for that walking competition, and they can be up to double the weight. So our normal robots are 250 pounds. They can be up to 500 pounds. Or get an additional 500-pound weight, and that's on a per-robot, by-robot basis. So this year, we have a couple of those coming, supposedly. We'll see what happens. We have 3 of them being built, and Chomp is one of those. She's been bragging about that, and so I guess I can tell you. There are 2 other teams. I don't know if they've mentioned it to the public yet, and I won't say anything from what I know until they've either released it or given me full permission, and they haven't. I don't know how they're doing. I know that Chomp is bragging about it online and showing some pictures, and theirs is looking pretty amazing. I really think that if I was a betting man, which I'm not really, but if I was a betting man, I might put my money on Chomp this year. if they pull it off and they get it done, this robot's pretty amazing, and I think it's going to really eye-open the rest of the contestants, and it's going to open a whole new world for us. But that's category 1 for the walkers, and I'm hoping to see 3 of those this year. The other category is what we're looking at is calling the Robot Walker Art Class. So it's basically walking robots. They can be as many legs as they want, and like the one in the open class, but they just go against each other. So it's walker versus walker. And we've limited some additional stuff on there, centrifugal weapon weights and speeds and that kind of thing to make it more artistic. And then the third class at this point is a biped walking robot class, so it has to be on 2 legs. And the way we're looking at that is we're thinking, we're going to try anyway, and we've been working with a company called Robotish who makes Dynamexel, who makes very fancy servos and a bunch of other stuff. And they are going to get this thing kicked off the ground, pun intended. They're going to make us some bases, 2-legged bases that stand up and can walk and can fall over and get themselves up. And we're going to hand those to, have a dozen contestants and say, add weapons to them. And come up with an idea, add some weapons to them, and we're going to try putting those against each other. We're not going to see those this season, but they are in the midst of, getting people started with the 2 legs. The 2 legs is the hardest thing you can do. What we've decided is let's get them started by giving them something that actually works and walks on 2 legs at this point.
Right. I mean, I would think just in the beginning part, not like what do I know about robot building, but I would think you would see more spider bot types first, because just for balance and equal, mechanical equilibrium, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that, because like I said, I don't know anything about robot building, but I would think you would see that first and then evolve into the 2 legs, I think. But I mean, man, if we get to that point, I mean, I can think of a couple of movies in the 80s and 90s that came true. I mean, holy cow. And I mean, how far away are we from hologram robots, for that matter? Where VR is controlling them and all that stuff. I mean, that's amazing. That really is. I can't wait to see that. That's really something. And what about Battlebots the movie? Is that something that's ever been talked about? Or are we never going to see that? No, really.
We've talked about it. It's still a ways off. We still got to find the right, director. James Cameron is a friend of mine, and someday we'll reach out to him, see if he's, interested in helping us do something. I'd like to get a couple great guys together like him and see if there's some way we can.
Man, Mark, I don't know if you're still with us. I don't know if you're still with us, Mark, but we're like 1 degree away from James Cameron, man. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Yes, I'm still with you.
Yeah.
And that would be amazing.
That would.
I tell you
Mark,
what.
I mean, go ahead. What's up?
No, I was going to say, when I first started doing BattleBots, the funniest thing to me was watching the producers from TalentWorks explain it to me when they wanted to hire me or bring me on. And I'm looking at them, and I'm expecting to hear these humanoid-looking robots in boxing trunks. And when I go to explain it, my understanding to the guys, they looked at me and told me, no. These things are like flying saucers or a suitcase on wheels, and hammers would come out from them. And I'm looking at them, and they're looking nuts to me. and they finally said, hey, look, do you want to do it or not? And I said, yeah, I just don't know what you're talking about. And when I got over there, it was amazing.
Rob Biner and Lenny Stucker, two great gentlemen that were a huge part of our start and actually brought you in with us.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Robbie Biner died about 4 years ago.
Oh, that's a shame.
And Lee Stucker used to be a cameraman with the Jack Parr Show.
Oh, wow.
That's how long he had been in TV. And there
guys,
were
Google
the guys.
That. Google that so you understand how important that is. Those you young ones out there.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, and of course, I knew them doing boxing all over the country or wrestling, and they told me they needed Battlebots. They needed an announcer to kind of tie the show together. And that's how I got introduced to Trey and Greg Munson.
Yep.
And I tell you what, I worked with them for close to 5 years. And Trey, we actually did one season of Battlebots shortly after the tragic events of 9/11.
Really?
And I remember traveling on a half-empty plane to California
wow.
to get to the event, and we were just getting over that tragedy, and people were just starting to fly again. And I tell you what, not to blow smoke up everybody's whatever, but Battlebots was the most incredible work that I was ever involved in, and the people in it were some of the kindest, wonderfulest individuals I got to know in my lifetime.
Wow,
you are so right, because that is really the magic to Battlebots. It's really the people, these contestants, and the people that are part of Battlebots. They are literally the most wonderful people to be around, and they're all so different, but they're all so fun and just so real. There, one of the stories that I love to tell is there's millions of dollars worth of stuff in the pits. There's $1,000 speed controllers that some will fit are smaller than your cell phone. There are transmitters, there are batteries, there's so much stuff in the pits that, these chargers and everything else that go with everything, programs and computers and everything else. I'm knocking on my head here, knocking on wood, nothing's ever been stolen. Nothing's ever...
Yeah, that's
wow.
That's a testament to the kind of people that are involved. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. They have heart. They have heart.
I'll tell you another thing, Trey, that I instantly got during all the years that I was there, and that was the camaraderie of the competitors. They were all fiercely competitive, but they were also generously helpful to their opponents and people that had defeated them. They all wanted to be a part of something bigger, and they did it gladly, and as you just pointed out, with integrity and honesty.
Yeah, that is so true, and it's so funny, to see in the pits, because you hear about other sports out there. Like I heard about a baseball game recently that the kids were playing, and two of the parents got mad at each other, and they were in a fight in the stands. And I'm like, people at Battlebots, that would never happen. And you have, people borrowing stuff. I'm going up against another robot, and my speed controller doesn't work, and the team I'm going up against will say, "Here, use mine. Take it."
Yeah.
And you never see that. And they don't nobody wants to win with you saying, "Oh, well, my speed controller was only working a little bit." They want to win with you saying, "My robot was up to its best it's ever been, and you beat me fair and square." That's the way you want to win at Battlebots.
Yeah, and even when they have, like when they're in the pit and they're doing whatever adjustments they need to do or repairs, even when they're trying to sneak a little peek at the other robot, like my favorite is with the pool noodle. That was my favorite one. And but even then, it's still in all good fun. The camaraderie is very real. They really are so kind to each other, and that's something that you just do not see today. And in most competition series, you don't see that. And I think
they really respect each other. Everybody really respects each other, and they really realize how difficult these things are. So many people, like your very first question was, tell me about the math, the engineering, and the physics. Well, most people don't understand what goes into these robots. And, for example, I would happen to be over, mentioning Chomp again, I happened to be down over there, and I saw, some of the parts that they were machining. And these are the most incredibly machined parts I've ever seen. Really phenomenal. I mean, these people. I think she's probably going to spend. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say, but I think it's going to be around $75,000 for the cost of building her robot.
Wow.
And the machining is such a high tolerance, such a high perfection. There's only 2 or 3 teams out there that have that level of perfection in machining. I mean, there's a couple more, but they are right up there. The detail,
Yeah, and I mean, and everybody brings their own, part to it. The crew, the cast, the announcers, you guys, everybody. I mean, all of that, the builders, everything just brings together just a top quality product. And I think, that's the perfect way to end it. That's perfect. I mean, and that's why BattleBots has lasted as long as it has. I mean, you look at other competition reality shows, I'm sorry, but they haven't lasted this long. I mean, they'll last a few seasons, maybe 2, 3, but you guys have really stood the test of time. And I think it shows all of these things that we've been talking about, and especially this has shown why. And especially the fact that you're constantly looking at the evolution and the future. And now speaking of which, so now we're talking about this season. So just because we're counting down the minutes now, tell us. So the BattleBots 5th season starts May 15th. Is that correct?
I believe so. If all the cards fall correctly,
Right.
If everything goes correctly. I mean, we start filming the show April 3rd through the 15th in Long Beach at the Long Beach Boeing hangars, same place we did the last 2 years.
Right. And the people can get their tickets, right, at battlebots.com/tickets if they want to be audience spectators.
And just add 2 cents to that. It is, if you've never seen something like this live blows away television. It is unbelievable to see. People don't realize how big some of these robots are. The TV makes them small. And because the old days we had 4 different weight classes and some of them were small, that people got kind of stuck. I mean, there's no reference, when these robots are fighting, what and how big these pieces are and how big these robots are. But, a 500-pound walking robot, come on, that's
I'd be terrified
2 of
of
me. That's 3 of Greg, probably. That's, so.
You're going to hear it from that one, Trey. You're going to hear about that. Greg, I did not egg him on that part. He said that on his own. Wow. Yeah. Well, so guys, you can check it out on discoverychannel.com. Check with your local cable providers, your local times. Find out when it's showing in your area. You can also get the Discovery Channel Go app. I think it's called Discovery Go app to catch up. They have the whole last season if you haven't seen it, and if you haven't, you need to. But you can check up on last season, and they have the whole thing there. And I think you guys also have a YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken. And you have a Facebook page as well. So, you guys are all over the place. There's no reason. You guys can find the BattleBots videos. Trust me. Now, Mark, before I go, do you have any? You're a radio guy too. Let's ambush him. Do you want to ask him anything as a radio guy?
No, I really don't have any questions for Trey, except to say what an honor it is to share the airways with him. He and Greg Munson were among the kindest, most wonderful people who actually enjoyed the endeavor of BattleBots. And I could tell you, Trey, I miss you guys incredibly, but you'll always be a part of my life.
Well,
wow.
Thank you. And, the truth is it's people like you and Rob Biner and Lenny Stucker and all our friends over there at Well Rock and all the people from Discovery and, Comedy Central and ABC and even Fox, way back when that helped us and kept us going and put us on. We've had some real niche secret fans too, and it feels really good to have been able to, bring this far. And I really hope there's no end to it. I really hope, that this is something that just keeps evolving and growing and really becomes what I like to call the smart sport, the sport of the future, the, one where we use our brain and want to keep it. And
Trey, Emi, I got to say this. When Battlebots first started on Comedy Central, a lot of people didn't know it, but it was the #1 cable show in all of cable.
Yep.
That included sports, everything.
That's phenomenal.
Like that for about 2 years. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it shows. Yeah. I mean, and I think, it's like what I was going to say is I personally think it's going to be like Star Trek in the sense that it just keeps going. Gene Roddenberry may have passed on, but his son carried on in his legacy. And it's like now we have the new Star Trek, but it's still the same show. It still has the same soul. And I think that's the same with BattleBots. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I really don't. I think you guys have gotten something here that truly is a very lasting thing. I mean, I'm blown away by it. Every single season, it's something new. It's never the same. Never.
Mark, we'd love to have you come down and be a part of the show if it's at all possible.
Anytime you guys want me, you let me know, and Emi and I will be there because I love being there and seeing the fans, and I always thought that we had a wonderful rapport. I with the fans with me, and with you guys, you are excellent. Excellent, Trey. And I just don't want you to Ginzu me.
Wow.
That's the only thing.
We might bring Ginsu again. We actually might turn it on someday. It hasn't actually run in many years.
He was something.
Yeah.
What a bot.
Oh, boy. Well, listen, I want to thank both of you for taking the time, especially Trey. I want to thank you for taking the time to come on here. And, I mean, I didn't think the interview was going to last this long. That's amazing. That's awesome. Kudos to you, sir. And, Mark, thank you for taking the time to come out here and kind of give the fans a little treat. And hopefully we'll see each other in person one day, Trey. I will get to meet you in person. And
that'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. Cannot wait for that. And we can also not wait for the new season of BattleBots. So, man, we are so ready. So thank you so much, all of you. And from Emi here at the
Greg.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much, guys. And we are going to go ahead and say goodbye. And thanks for stopping by, Trey and Mark.
You bet.
Okay.
Thanks, Emi. Bye, Mark.
Thanks, guys.
We'll talk.
Take care.
Trey.
Bye.
All right, guys. That was it. That was the interview with Trey Roski, and we had a cameo there with Mark Bayrow. I mean, I'm sorry, you just can't get any more epic than that. I mean, wow, what an interview. So thanks, everybody, for listening. This is Emi with the Graveyard Shift. We'll see you next week. Pretty soon we're going to have the amazing Mike Quinn, puppeteer, Pixar animator extraordinaire, coming by. And don't worry, my supernatural fans out there, I haven't forgotten about you. I will have some kooky, unique authors in here very soon. So just hang in there. blogtalkradio.com/The Graveyard Shift. Facebook.com/Graveyard Shift Show, and Twitter @Emi Shift Show. And we also have a brand new Discord channel. I shared that earlier. For those of you that may not know, the Discord channel is it's called Graveyard Shift. It's that simple. So just look us up on the Discord app. And my name on there is Emi Shift Show, same as on Twitter. So thanks a lot, guys. This is Emi from the Graveyard Shift, and I am out of here. Take me out of here, Nuclears.